আসসালামু আলাইকুম অ্যান্ড ভেরি গুড ইভিনিং। যুক্তরাজ্যের সহ পৃথিবীর যে যেখানে বসে এনটিভি ইউরোপের রেগুলার প্রোগ্রাম কমিউনিটি ম্যাটার্স দেখছেন, আপনাদের সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা সহ স্বাগতম। বরাবরের মতো আজকেও আপনাদের সাথে আছি আমি আদনান, পাভেল। আপনারা যারা রেগুলারলি কমিউনিটি ম্যাটার্স দেখেন আপনারা জানেন কমিউনিটি ম্যাটার্স আপনাদের অনুষ্ঠান, আপনাদের নিয়ে অনুষ্ঠান। আমরা সবসময় চেষ্টা করি এই অনুষ্ঠানে এমন সব ইম্পর্টেন্ট টপিকে কথা বলতে যা কিনা ব্রিটিশ বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি বা বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটির উপর প্রভাব ফেলছে বা অদূর ভবিষ্যতে প্রভাব ফেলতে পারে। আজও তার ব্যতিক্রম নয়। আজকে আমরা খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ একটা টপিকে কথা বলবো। আজকে আমরা কথা বলবো আমাদের ইয়াঙ্গার জেনারেশন যারা যুক্তরাজ্যে আছে তারা কি ধরনের চ্যালেঞ্জ ফেস করে এবং তারা যেন তাদের যে পটেনশিয়াল আছে, তাদের ভিতরে যে মেধা মনন আছে, এইগুলো তারা যেন ফুলফিল করে তারা যেন সাকসেসফুল নাগরিক হতে পারে, সাকসেসফুল হিউম্যান বিং হতে পারে। সেই ক্ষেত্রে আমরা কমিউনিটি কি ভূমিকা পালন করতে পারি, ফ্যামিলি কি ভূমিকা পালন করতে পারে, আজকে আমরা তা নিয়ে কথা বলবো। তো আমাদের আজকের টপিক হচ্ছে দ্য চ্যালেঞ্জেস ইয়াঙ্গার জেনারেশন ফেসিং টুডে, এবং এই পার্টিকুলার টপিকে কথা বলার জন্য এনটিভি ইউরোপের লন্ডন স্টুডিওতে ভিডিও কলের মাধ্যমে তিনজন বিশিষ্ট অতিথি আমাদের সাথে জয়েন করেছে। আমি অতিথিদের সাথে পরিচয় করে দেব। আজকে আমরা অনুষ্ঠানটা ইংরেজি এবং বাংলা দুই ভাষাতেই আমরা কথা বলার চেষ্টা করব ইন অর্ডার টু রিচ আউট টু ম্যাক্সিমাম অডিয়েন্স। আপনারা জানেন এনটিভি ইউরোপ এখন 12 প্ল্যাটফর্মে আছে। যুক্তরাজ্যে আপনারা যারা আছেন আপনারা আপনারা টেলিভিশন সেটের সামনে স্কাই 780-তে আমাদেরকে দেখতে পাচ্ছেন। তাছাড়াও কিন্তু আমাদের সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া ফেসবুক লাইভের মাধ্যমে এবং আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটের মাধ্যমে এনটিভি ইউরোপের ওয়েবসাইটের মাধ্যমে আপনারা পৃথিবীর যে প্রান্তেই থাকেন না কেন এই অনুষ্ঠান দেখতে পাচ্ছেন। আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে, কোনো অভিমত থাকে, তাহলে আমাদের স্ক্রিনের নিচে যে ফোন নাম্বার আছে সেই ফোন নাম্বারে আপনারা কথা বলতে পারবেন, এবং আমাদের সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে আপনারা যদি কমেন্ট করেন আমরা আমাদের সংক্ষিপ্ত সময়ের মাঝে সেসব প্রশ্নগুলোরও উত্তর দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব। আজকে আমাদের টপিক হচ্ছে দ্য চ্যালেঞ্জেস ইয়াঙ্গার জেনারেশন ফেসিং টুডে, এবং এই টপিকে কথা বলার জন্য আমার সাথে আজকে ভিডিও কলের মাধ্যমে জয়েন করেছে, আমার প্রথম স্ক্রিনে আছে মিস্টার সতেজ চৌধুরী। হি ইজ ম্যানেজার campaigning communities, Amnesty International UK. He is also a trustee for New Economic Foundation. Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Assalamu alaikum viewers. Thank you Adnan bhai for having me.
Thank you very much. আমাদের সাথে আরো জয়েন করেছে স্টুডেন্ট অ্যাসোসিয়েশন অফ ব্রিটিশ বাংলাদেশি অর্গানাইজেশনের co-founder Naema Eva Jannath. Naema, thank you so very much for joining us today. আমাদের সাথে আরো জয়েন করেছে Ejaj Ahmed. Ejaj is a very young chap. Right now he is working as an apprentice for American International Group. Ejaj, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys, and yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you very much. আমি উইদাউট এনি ফার্দার ডু আমি প্রথমে চলে যাব সতেজ চৌধুরীর কাছে। মিস্টার সতেজ চৌধুরী হ্যাজ হিউজ knowledge and experience working in the community, particularly dealing with the problems that the young people from ethnic minorities they are facing. So Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, my first question to you would be, to your view, what are the challenges that the young people are facing nowadays in the UK, particularly young people, those who are from ethnic minority, those who are from Bangladeshi background?
Thank you. I mean, obviously, I'm glad to speak here, but I'm no longer young, so I'm more keen on hearing what the actual young people that we have today are going to say. But if I was to start off with a few things, and please forgive me if it sounds a bit gloomy, not too positive, but I think the problem is we're about to get into, or we are in the midway of a recession that we've not in the likes that we've not seen before, but we've actually not recovered from the last recession that we had. And so young people right now under the age of 25, in their lifetime, they're about to see 2 recessions. And from the last recession, before this pandemic started, we had about 700,000 to 800,000 young people that were not in education, employment or training, right? So that's not just not having a job, that's not having confidence, not having an income, not having those connections and social skills. And then since the pandemic has been here with us, we've lost another 800,000 jobs, payroll jobs in the UK, and 3/5 of them have been, the jobs that have gone for people who are under the age of 25. So straight away you're going, they're being heavily discriminated against by this pandemic, by the recession. And just if we were particularly to talk about our Bangladeshi community, we obviously have a broad spectrum of people that are participating in the job market in various ways. But a lot of our young people are still struggling in school. On one end you've got people doing really well, which is great to see, and other people struggling in school and struggling to get employment afterwards. And so we see this recession and partly Brexit, but mainly this recession from COVID really affecting. And then the other thing I think that is very important to know, that young people have just had the most awful time through their schooling at the moment. The debacle we saw with someone grading, the stress that they've had to go on. It's something that my generation and previous generations just have not had to suffer, and and compounded by the fact during this COVID crisis, many Bangladeshis have lost family members and loved ones, so they're traumatized by this, they're suffering from this. Being at home by yourself, or cramped spaces with siblings that many sort of more disadvantaged families find themselves in, you're just compounded by issues everywhere. So it's a really challenging time, and watching things on TV, not least about things about racism and things that are happening in society and the economy. It's really tight. It's a really tough time. I feel for them. I can't say that I actually understand everything they're going through, but you can really appreciate that this is really tough.
Thank you so very much. You have highlighted some of the very, very important issues. Naema Eva Jannath, you are a final year student at University of Westminster, and you have been involved with many organizations, particularly that involves with cultural and socio-economic issues. Naema, to your view, what are the challenges that your age demography is facing in today's Britain?
I'd say, along with what Mr. Chowdhury has already pointed out, is again the impact it has had on mental health. I think many students having to adapt to online learning is an environment they're used to, and that puts a lot of pressure on people's mental well-being. Another thing that I'd like to add is, along with having pressure of trying to find a good job in this competitive graduate job market, as a final year student, a lot of us are really uncertain on what the job market is going to look like. And then lastly, that all has an impact on financial stability. The pressure of being financially stable at early 20s is another thing that we're facing today.
Well, Mr. Sotez Chowdhury has highlighted some of the issues that particularly young people from ethnic minority background are facing. British Bangladeshi community, for example, young people, those who are from Bangladeshi background. So do you agree to his point that particularly considering nowadays because of pandemic, many of us, we lost our loved ones, many of us, we lost our friends and family members. This situation has traumatized us much more disproportionately than any other community. So we do face much more bigger challenges in comparison to our peers.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you usually find with people from BAME backgrounds come from working class families, so we have these other barriers to deal with, and with less opportunities such as job opportunities, education opportunities. But I think a lot of firms and companies have come up with diversity and inclusion projects to help support students like myself from BAME backgrounds. But in terms of the emotional aspect, I think BAME backgrounds with the stigma around raising COVID cases in East London, that has kind of brought up stigma and mental health impacts and so on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so very much. Ejaj Ahmed, nowadays you are working as an apprentice for American International Group. Ejaj, you are a very young panelist for this particular topic, but you have some practical experience for particularly representing your age demography, the sort of problems, the sort of challenges that you are facing in current Britain. So to your view, what are the challenges that your age demography, people those who have just joined university or people those who have just joined job sectors, what are the challenges that you are facing, and has this pandemic somehow affected this situation further?
Yeah, so in general, university is very expensive, and people and females that do go to university, they would have to have some sort of income to pay off their debts for their program. So yeah, with the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Ejaj. We will try to connect you once again. সুপ্রিয় দর্শক, আজকে আমরা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা টপিকে কথা বলছি। আজকে আমরা কথা বলছি the challenges younger generation facing today. We know that because of the current socio-economic and political situation that has been happening, not just in Britain but all across the world, and the pandemic that is going to have significant negative impact on Britain's economy, that would have significant impact on world's economy, the younger generation, they will have to face much more greater consequences because of this. Amra এবং particularly যারা ethnic minority backgrounder, যারা black, Asian minority ethnic backgrounder, they would face much more challenges because of the underlying socio-economic issues, because of the sort of problems that we face. However, এখানে অনেক কিন্তু পজিটিভ স্টোরিজও আছে। আমরা দেখি যে nowadays আমাদের কমিউনিটি থেকে অনেকে অনেক ভালো করছে। More people are going to university, and every now and then we see positive news on social media, on news as well, on media as well. Yeah, our young people, they are getting good jobs. Our young people, they are getting good result. তো এগুলো কিন্তু আবার of course আমাদের জন্য inspirational story, এগুলো আমাদের জন্য positive news. However, collectively we also have certain mandate, we also have certain responsibility to help those young people so that they can fulfill their potential, so that they can reach to their caliber in order to become a successful person, in order to become a successful human being, in order to become a successful son or daughter, in order to become a successful 21st century conscious citizen, not just for the UK but for the rest of the world. সুপ্রিয় দর্শক, so this is a very very important topic. আমরা এই টপিকে আমাদের কনভারসেশন আরো কন্টিনিউ করব। আমরা generation facing today, we know that we live in a very very unprecedented world right now. This pandemic has huge impact on economy, on various socio-economic dimension as well, and we know particularly in the UK both pandemic and Brexit issues, both of them are running simultaneously, which will have huge impact for near future. We do not know what would happen, but we can only predict, but we can only hope for best. We need to be optimistic as well. So we will try to find out what are the challenges faced by young people and how the current situation has affected, whether it has affected negatively or positively, what would be the mitigating strategies, how we as a community can help the young people so that they can fulfill their potential, they can become a successful human being. এবং আজকে এই ইম্পর্টেন্ট টপিকে আমাদের সাথে কথা বলার জন্য এনটিভি ইউরোপের লন্ডন স্টুডিওতে তিনজন বিশিষ্ট অতিথি ভিডিও কলের মাধ্যমে জয়েন করেছে। Do allow me to introduce my guests, three of my panelists. Once again, I have Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, who is working as a manager campaigning communities for Amnesty International UK. He is also a trustee for New Economic Foundation. I also have co-founder of Student Association of British Bangladeshi. She's also finally a student for politics and international relation at Westminster University. Naema Eva Jannath. I also have Ejaj Ahmed, who is working as an apprentice for American International Group. Thank you all three of you for joining us today. We know that it is weekend, and I'm sure all of you are very busy, but I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate your expert opinion. Thank you for sharing your experience and your opinion with us today. Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, before I ask you that you have highlighted some of the very very important issues that the young people they are facing in the UK right now, and you have also mentioned about the negative economic consequences that the young people will face in longer term because of pandemic. To your view, do you think this pandemic and this Brexit, we know that both events are running simultaneously, will have huge negative impact for the job prospect for the young people, particularly young people from Bangladeshi background? And if you think yes, what would be the mitigating strategy? What would be your advice for the young people? And is there any way we community, we can help them so that they can fulfill their potential? Mr. Sotez Chowdhury.
Okay, thanks, Adnan. So let me answer this Brexit question in a slightly different way. So I think lots of people can speculate in terms of like what Brexit may do or may not do. Some of it's been worse than what we thought. Some of it's not been there. But the truth is we're not going to see things until a little bit later down the line. But I think if we unpack like what Brexit was, one of the reasons why Brexit happened was there are many deindustrialized areas in parts of the country, basically bits that aren't London or large cities. So if we look at like our own Bangladeshi community, we go places like Oldham, have a significant population of Bangladeshi, but their career and aspiration hopes were already limited because of the lack of industry before Brexit, before the pandemic. This is only going to get worse.
And I think this is Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, I think to add to your point, I think you have highlighted very important issues. And I think to add to your point, this inequality and the socio-economic discrimination, the divide between North and South has been huge impact on the aspiration of the young people, isn't it?
Absolutely. And so this country, unfortunately, is like, London's its own little state, right? Like it's very different, the amount of opportunities here. So when Londoners complain about opportunities, like people outside of London get really angry because they have such a small amount and lots of people are competing over this, and people over there, we in London can apply for a job, if not in our own borough, in the next one or neighbouring one. People there move cities in order to get jobs, move from towns to cities.
Wealth is too concentrated on big cities like London, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Glasgow, Cardiff. The wealth is too concentrated, isn't it?
Yeah, we are, but like we have to think about why we immigrated. Most Bangladeshis that came as economic migrants, they came for the mills, they came to work in the steel. Why are Bangladeshis in Scunthorpe and Sheffield? Because of the steel factories, right? Why did lots of people come to Brick Lane? Because of textiles and and manufacturing and so forth. So people move because of those, but those things aren't there on those areas, especially outside of London. So those people are going to suffer that much more. In terms of Brexit in itself, yes, there are going to be challenges, but I think the bigger challenge, and this is why I think lots of young people need to get political, need to really challenge this, is I'm worried about workers' rights. So I work for Amnesty International in my day job, which is around human rights, but you can also have lots of exploitative practices by governments and by employers. That's not me saying all employers are bad, but I'm saying some employers can be really terrible. And we have to really keep an eye on whether or not, by leaving the European Union, are we eroding lots of our workers' rights? So everyone here will enjoy the fact that you've got sick pay, annual leave, maternity, so forth. But if some of those things start getting stripped away, we're looking at a very different working world. And this affects young people the most, because they get hired, and there's going to be lots of restructures that are going to happen as a result of COVID and Brexit, like those of government or private businesses, whatever it is, restructuring. And actually, people are going to be, it's going to make it a really fiercely competitive ground, but also people are going to get paid less and less. So, and treated potentially worse and worse in some areas. So I feel like these are the important things, and the response to that is like people need to join unions, people need to work as collectives, make sure that their campaign. We saw, lots of Bangladeshis.
Absolutely. People need to be much more conscious. People need to come together, and not just the government, but also at the same time all political parties, all unions, everyone needs to work together to ensure the better working environment for people. But do you think our young people, they are informed and educated enough to understand what sort of right they have in their workplace, and if they are somehow discriminated, if they are somehow not the employers, if they are not fulfilling their responsibility, how those things can be escalated further. Do you think our young people, they are informed and educated enough about all those issues?
I think they're quite well informed. What I don't think is they're well enough organised. They need to get more together with partners that can help unions, get into workplaces that help them unionise. They need to work together as a collective to really challenge bad decisions. And the same thing in terms of there's hundreds of billions of pounds being thrown around by the government at the moment, but in the wrong places. If we can influence, make sure that they're in places like green jobs in fairly across the country, then you go, okay, then we're in a different place. We get to challenge policy where there's actual money and investment to create jobs in private sectors or government or NGOs. This is the other place. Naema was mentioning this before. Minority people are instinctive campaigners because they, injustice hits them in the face first. So they're very good at campaigning, and lots of NGOs like Amnesty, like many others, are largely white. And since last summer, since George Floyd, lots of them are now investing more and more in diversity, in anti-racism, and our people need to go up and occupy some of those spaces and jobs.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure, like your organization, there are many other organizations, and there are many, campaign group, pressure group. They are working to ensure better working environment. Those who are also working for more opportunities for the young people. And I think it is important that all political parties come together for a more for just society, for more just society, and also at the same time for a sustainable world, for a better world, for the future generation. Speaking of having a coordinated effort, I think Naema would be able to enlighten us further on that particular issue. Naema, you on previous segment, you highlighted about mental health, you highlighted about mental well-being. This pandemic, how it has affected the mental well-being of your age group, and to your view, what would be the support system, or what should be the support system in place from the government and even from the family to support the young people at the time of difficult time when we know that you are unable to go to university, you are unable to socialize with your friends, you are stuck at home. What would be your recommendation?
So when it comes to mental health, I guess there's two parts. Those who've lost their family, and a lot of times when it's abroad, they just haven't been able to process it because they haven't had a chance to meet the family member before they went. And the second part is, I guess, with the education system itself, doing online learning, a lot of the time there has been a lot of pressure on students. It's caused burnout, it's caused them to lose motivation for their degrees. In terms of support, I'd say the university is the best best thing to kind of support. But the problem is that each university, the response to mental health is very different. So the response in itself isn't universal. And when it comes to the government, recently they've invested 79 million into mental health services. But what the government are not doing is seeing how the money is actually being spent, where it's going to, if the university are using it properly. So we need to kind of push the universities to make sure it's helping students as much as needed with 24-hour mental health services and so on.
Naema, thank you so very much. Naema, you mentioned about holding responsible people into account, whether this is university, whether this is a private sector, or even how the government money has been invested in this particular dimension. But organization like yours, are you guys campaigning enough? Are you guys writing? Are you guys campaigning so that the relevant people can take your concern into consideration before they come up with any policies, before they implement any of their policies? Are you campaigning about it? Are you raising your concern to relevant people?
Yeah, I guess when it comes to mental health, we kind of have to look at it from a cultural perspective as well. In our organisations, we've already had debate nights and discussions around mental health in the South Asian community, because that in itself has another cultural barrier to how the South Asian community take mental health and how seriously they take it. So yeah, we've had discussions around mental health and tried encouraging, the elder generation to kind of have more discussions around mental health and start recognising mental health symptoms and so on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Ejaj Ahmed, if I come back to you, Ejaj, this pandemic has affected everyone. We have lost many of our very well-known faces. We have lost our friends, family members, our relatives, our loved ones. And also at the same time, because of the lockdown restrictions associated with this lockdown, we are stuck inside our house. We are not allowed to go outside unless and until it is an absolute necessary. Has this pandemic affected your mental well-being or mental well-being of your age demography?
Yeah, so the global pandemic has not just impacted my mental well-being, but has also impacted my physical and social well-being. Yeah, coming back to mental and physical, yeah, it affected me because prior to the lockdown and prior to the pandemic, I used to go outside, do a lot of activities, exercises outside, going to the gym 2-3 times a week, which helped with my physical as well as my mental well-being. But because of the pandemic, they closed up gyms, restricted times to go outside and stuff like that, which has had a major impact on my mental and physical well-being. It has also impacted my social well-being because when I was joining LG, for example, the onboarding process was completely different. I thought I would go into the office and meeting other apprentices and other colleagues face-to-face. So working from onboarding from home, it just had a negative impact because I can't meet face-to-face with the other apprentices physically, and yeah, you just put them down, to be honest, because behind the computers, you sometimes feel shy to talk, whereas if you're face-to-face, you're more physical with each other, like you can see each other and ask questions, and so yeah, it has impact for physical, mental and social well-being.
Thank you. It's the challenges younger generation facing today এবং আপনারা জানেন যে এই প্যান্ডেমিক এবং ব্রেক্সিট এবং ভেরিয়াস আদার সোশিও ইকোনমিক অ্যান্ড পলিটিক্যাল ইস্যুতে শুধু যুক্তরাজ্যে না সারা ওয়ার্ল্ডে কিন্তু এখন আমরা একটা আনপ্রেসিডেন্টেড টাইমের ভিতর দিয়ে পার করছি। এই প্যান্ডেমিক কাকে এফেক্টেড করে নাই? আই থিঙ্ক এভরিওয়ান ইজ সামহাউ ডাইরেক্টলি অর ইনডাইরেক্টলি এফেক্টেড বাই দিস প্যান্ডেমিক। আমাদের কমিউনিটিতে ব্রিটিশ বাংলাদেশি বা বাংলাদেশি কমিউনিটি যারা যুক্তরাজ্যে আছে, আমরা কিন্তু আমাদের অনেক মুরব্বীদেরকে হারিয়েছি, আমাদের অনেক পরিচিত প্রিয় মুখকে আমরা হারিয়েছি, যাদের জন্য আমরা দোয়া করি। আমাদের অনেক ফ্রেন্ডস, ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার, আত্মীয় স্বজন কিন্তু এই প্যান্ডেমিকের জন্য ওনারা নিজেরা ডাইরেক্টলি ইনডাইরেক্টলি এফেক্টেড হয়েছে এবং এখনো হচ্ছে। আমরা আওয়ার কন্ডোলেন্সেস ফর দেম। বাট আমাদের ইয়াঙ্গার জেনারেশন যারা আছে, দোজ হু আর আওয়ার ফিউচার, আমরা উই অলসো নিড টু থিঙ্ক অ্যাবাউট দ্যাম টু। তারাও কিন্তু এই প্যান্ডেমিকের কারণে তাদের মেন্টাল ওয়েলবিং, তাদের পড়ালেখা, তাদের জব অপরচুনিটি, এগুলো কিন্তু সব এফেক্টেড হচ্ছে বা হবে। However, as a community, it is our responsibility to support them. It is our responsibility as parents, as brother, as sister, as friends, as relative to support them, as media to support them. এবং কিভাবে তাদেরকে আমরা সাপোর্ট করতে পারি, তারা কি কি চ্যালেঞ্জ ফেস করে, আজকে তা নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলছি। এবং এই টপিকে কথা বলার জন্য আমাদের সাথে এনটিভি ইউরোপের লন্ডন স্টুডিওতে তিনজন বিশিষ্ট অতিথি উপস্থিত আছেন। আমি তাদের তিনজনকে আবারও খুব সংক্ষেপে পরিচয় করে দিব। আমাদের সাথে আছেন জনাব সতেজ চৌধুরী। হি ইজ ম্যানেজার ক্যাম্পেনিং কমিউনিটিস ফর অ্যামনেস্টি ইন্টারন্যাশনাল। হি ইজ অলসো ট্রাস্টি অফ নিউ ইকোনমিক ফাউন্ডেশন। I also have a co-founder of Student Association of British Bangladeshi organization, Naema Eva Jannath. I also have Ejaj Ahmed, who is working as an apprentice for American International Group. Thank you all three of you for joining us today and sharing your experience, your expert opinion with me and my audience. Thank you so much. Sotez Chowdhury, if I ask you the important point that Naema has highlighted before our break, she said that mental health is still a taboo subject for South Asian community. We do not want to talk and discuss about this important issue, whereas we know that our younger generation, they are going through a huge mental trauma because of this lockdown restriction. They have been stuck at their home for many days now. So do you think it is a taboo subject? If it is a taboo subject, to your view, why we should discuss more about this topic as a senior community organizer? What is your view?
Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. So I hear what Naema was saying in terms of a taboo subject. The thing is, it wasn't a subject 10 years ago. You know, like in the sense in what it is now. So I think lots of people are actually quite quickly, you know, in a short space of time, a lot of awareness has come through on this, and lots of people are now understanding, you know, well-being and its in relation or its way in relation to physical well-being, which most people can understand. But I, you know, like Naema was saying this so well before, like government is putting in some money, but nothing in relation to the scale of the challenge and the issue. But you know, we have to understand more as employers, as family members, as citizens, as community members. You know, everything from when people go to mosques to supplementary classes. Like I think there has to be an understanding that this is good, but you know, it's a more traumatic world than the one I grew up in.
Thank you very much. Amader Onek, we have many phone calls waiting. We'll take 1 or 2 phone calls and then I'll come back to you. Caller, assalamu alaikum. Apnar porichoy diye apnar proshn korun.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. I had a question.
Okay, কে বলছিলেন এবং কোথা থেকে বলছিলেন?
My name is Mahmoud. I'm from East London.
Mahmoud bhai, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Yeah, alaikum salam. Adnan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like
this
today
program.
we are you do this program with this community, and a lot of people are, you know, get a lot of information we can know throughout this program.
Thank you, Mahmoud bhai. Thank you for watching NTV. Thank you for watching this particular program. If you have any particular question related to today's topic, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I had a question as the topic is related to the younger generation. So I would like to ask something to Naema Jannath, as she is working with young students. My question is, a lot of we can see a lot of companies, their CEO is from Indian, but in London we have a reputation with car industry. Whenever we go in restaurant, the owner is Bangladeshi. That is our proud. But whenever we go to a big company, the CEO is Indian. So I want actually the next generation will be the CEO or the bigger post holder in all over the Europe and other big companies as well. So in this case, what actually they are doing with students, like a lot of students are coming from Bangladesh here. So what actually they are doing throughout their organization.
Thank you.
My question is, what step they are taking right now?
Mahmoud bhai, we got your point. Thank you so very much. I think you have asked a very important question. The main theme of your question is whether our community, particularly British Bangladeshi or Bangladeshi community in the UK, is lacking some sort of aspiration, whereas we can see the CEO of all the big companies, if they are from South Asia, they're from 1 or 2 particular countries. Why not more Bangladeshis background CEO? Why not CEOs from Bangladeshi ethnic background? Of course, we are very proud of our car industry. We are also very proud of many other dimension, you know, what we have achieved in the UK in politics and in various other organizations. People from Bangladeshi community, they are doing really well. However, we need to do further. So thank you very much. Mahmoud bhai, আমি আপনার এই প্রশ্নের আনসার আমি জিজ্ঞেস করব নাইমার কাছে। Sotez bhai, the point that you have highlighted that you know it is in 10 years back it was not even an issue. Nowadays people have started talking about it. Of course we can discuss and debate what the government should do and should not do, but as a community, as a family, we also need to support our young people. So what would be your recommendation for parents to support the young people in terms of their mental well-being, instead of leaving the debate, instead of avoiding this discussion, what they should do practically to support their kids at the time of you know at the time of difficulties, at such a global pandemic time?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I don't have kids and I didn't grow up in this generation where people were freely talking about it. So just to rephrase what you said, I don't think it's that it wasn't an issue. It was just not articulated as one. So So I think the key thing is listening. The key thing is watching out for signs that, you know, depression is on the rise. And like one of the things that is quite scary is more and more kids these days are more likely to have less intimate relationships, less relationships with peers, go out, you know, have less friends, so forth. And so, you know, parents have to be just thinking, well, you know, when they were growing up, they all had friends, whether they grew up in Bangladesh or in the UK. You know, we all had our sassis coming over, all of that. All of that is starting to decline quite quickly. And we have to work out, like, if the child is locked away in their bedroom for a long period of time, not all social media, not all of that is bad, but we have to make sure that they're having that interaction. We have to make sure, like, who they're talking to, who they're not talking to.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Naema, the question that was asked by Mahmoud Bhai, he asked that whether you think there is some sort of lack of aspiration in our community, and what your organization is doing, particularly giving that sort of confidence back to the younger people, how you are campaigning so that the younger people, they can have that aspiration that, look, my previous generation, they may have done very well in curry industry and many other industries, but in near future I can be a CEO of a multinational British company. So is your organization campaigning, is your organization giving that sort of motivation to your members?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing is probably access to resources. That could be just financially, or it could just be knowing people in the industry to get into that. One thing my organisation, Student Association of British Bangladeshi, we try to host like panel events where you have British Bangladeshi or Bangladeshi experts in the industry coming in and speaking to the younger generation of British Bangladeshis. And if they see, oh, there's a British Bangladeshi in that industry, I can go follow that journey, I can go be like that.
Sure.
So it's about encouraging them and just giving them inspiration through these people.
Absolutely. Are you from your organization, are you organizing events in collaboration with other similar organization, or even with universities relevant department, so that young people from Bangladeshi background, they have the right information, they have the right motivation, and they know what to do in order to get a good job?
Yes, 100%. Actually, something that we have coming up on Monday, International Women's Day, a panel of British Bangladeshi women. And I know within our BAME group, within British Bangladeshi group, we're trying to encourage women and girls as well to aspire to the same thing as men. So in that International Women's Day, we're hoping to kind of inspire these young British Bangladeshi, both boys and girls, to go into different industries other than just ones that we've been seeing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ejaj, what would be your, in previous segment, you have described very eloquently about the mental well-being and how you are supported by your parents. Going forward, what would be your recommendation, what would be your suggestion for younger people of your age group, of your age demography, so that they can actually take practical, pragmatic action, they can prepare themselves so that in near future they can avail a good job, so that they can fulfill their potential? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so the global pandemic has restricted us to just stay at home, and to use that time well. I think people that are at university or have enough time to just do the online classes, online courses that can enhance their skills and stuff like that, that can have improve their skills and their technical skills to get better jobs in the future. And in terms of mental health and physical and well-being and stuff like that, people during the lockdown, they can take 1 hour or half an hour just to go for runs and stuff like that, which can help with their mental and their physical well-being.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sotez Chowdhury, if I come back to you, supporting young people, I think it is paramount. It is very critical and it is very important. If we want to be successful, if we want to thrive in Britain as British Bangladeshi or Bangladeshi community, what would be your recommendation for parents or for community to support the young people?
Okay, so really good question. Let me try and get to a few different things quickly. So one of the things I think we can recognize is all parents have this, or in all communities have this ability to go, in my age, in my time, I did this. You know, your 20s, when I was your age, I bought a house by then. I bought whatever. Yes, it's true you were once our age, but actually the time is completely different.
Absolutely.
In the early 90s, you could have bought a 3-bedroom house in Tower Hamlets for 80 grand. The same house is now worth 600 grand.
Absolutely.
Wages have only doubled, right? So I think for our parents, what they need to do is recalibrate their expectations. Like they really need to manage their expectations.
Recognizing the difficulties and challenges that the young people face, recognizing that we live in a difficult time.
Very difficult time. By the way, it's not to say our time is tougher than theirs. They came as immigrants with no English, like nothing.
They face so many challenges: racism, discrimination, various problems. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
But completely, exactly. So it's respecting that they had their challenges. These challenges these days is a completely different thing, and the comparison between the generations just doesn't work because the whole economy is being restructured. So if one person earned 50,000 but they started a job 10 years ago, like you getting back on that from the way wages have stagnated is a completely different thing. My mum worked in the NHS for over 30 years. That's just not possible for most people now, not only because you're a millennial and you don't think like that, but also employers don't tend to keep people on for that long. Like, longevity.
Absolutely. The development of artificial intelligence, the development of technology has somehow it will have huge, mammoth impact in future employment as well. And not just for our community, for everyone all across the world, isn't it? I mean, recognizing those problems and trying to share the experience with the young people so that they have that positivity, they have the optimism, they have the confidence. I think that is quite important. And if I'm correct, that is something you are trying to highlight, isn't it?
Totally. And the last few points I'll make, because it'll be most interesting to hear from the other two, actual young people. But we need to refrain from putting our kids into rabbit holes. So lots of people, and I would have said the same thing 20 years ago. But if people want their kids to become lawyers or doctors, and then halfway through the line they don't want to become lawyers or doctors,
that
can become an expensive investment.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Naema, your final comment. We are running out of time. Your final comment, please, Naema.
I think just to add to Mr. Chowdhury's point is, parents should just become a really good support network for their children. So wherever they do, they always have support around them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ejaj, your final comment.
Yeah, just for the parents as well, just be open-minded and just look up opportunities for their child, really.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for contributing in this important topic. Thank you for joining NTV. সুপ্রিয় দর্শক, আজকে NTV ইউরোপের কমিউনিটি ম্যাটার্স অনুষ্ঠানে আমরা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা টপিকে কথা বলেছি। আমরা কিভাবে আমাদের ফিউচার জেনারেশন, ইয়াঙ্গার জেনারেশন, তাদেরকে সাপোর্ট করতে পারি, তারা যে প্রবলেমগুলো ফেস করছে সেগুলো আমরা রেকগনাইজ করে তাদেরকে সাপোর্ট করতে পারি। আপনারা যে যেখানেই থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন।